So you got your stimmy. Now what? Honestly, a lot of people are going to have a lot of different opinions as far as what you should do with that money. And here's another one. You might be aware, I recently started this YouTube channel, and so I have two other videos up, one about money beliefs and the other about budgeting. And so this was a perfect time to make this video because a lot of people are eligible for this stimulus and either recently received it or are waiting to receive it. And so I figured this would be a good time to put out this video because, you know, there are a lot of opinions, and I think that this one could be valuable to some people who maybe don't already have this in place. So my opinion is that your stimulus should become your emergency fund if you don't already have one. So hear me out. For those of you who do not know what emergency funds are, they're exactly what they sound like. So an emergency fund is a set amount of money set aside specifically for emergencies. And so what is an emergency? I think this is super important as far as laying out the terms for when it's okay to pull out this money. So I think it is best to be super strict about what qualifies as an emergency. So like if you want new furniture, or if you want to go out somewhere, those aren't emergencies. Like I think that you should only be using your emergency money, for example, when your car breaks down and you didn't anticipate that happening, maybe some sort of medical emergency, things of that nature, things that are like you need this money and you didn't see this event happening, and so now you need to use it. So being super clear about what an emergency is in your case, I think that is super important once you've set that aside, because ideally you really shouldn't be touching it unless you absolutely need it. And so having an emergency fund of $1,400, if you don't already have an emergency fund, I think is a really, really great place to start. If you have enough discipline to just take this money and put it into a savings account, and that's going to be your emergency fund to start, that's chef's kiss, because first of all, that's a lot of discipline, and you're gonna thank yourself later for it. So I did want to be super transparent with y'all in sharing that right now my emergency fund is only $1,000, and that's because I'm focusing on paying off my student loans, and so I didn't want to have this big amount of money sitting on the side when I have, you know, loans, debt that I'm trying to get out of. Every person's situation is going to look differently. I don't know what your debts look like. I don't know what other sorts of things you are paying off. And so, you know, take this advice with a grain of salt. I just think that the big idea I'm trying to share here is that everyone should have an emergency fund. And whether it's only $500 or $200 or $1,000 or $10,000, I think that, you know, really depending on your life circumstances and the way that you like to live your life, that should be what's determining how much money should ultimately exist in your emergency fund. But anyway, again, the big idea here is that I'm trying to, you know, share that I'd love for everyone to have an emergency fund because of the benefits that it provides. Before I had an emergency fund, I would feel very anxious sometimes, thinking like, oh, well, if this thing were to happen, like I wouldn't be prepared for it financially. And so having even this small $1,000 emergency fund brings me this like relief. Like even if, you know, I don't know, some minor accident happens, or I like a bill comes up that I didn't anticipate that I have to pay, I feel relaxed because I know that I have this money set aside, and I'll just, you know, take it, pay it, and then I can just refill my emergency fund when I get the chance. And it provides a feeling of stability, a feeling of having a backup plan, a feeling of like you just feel safe. A few more things I wanted to share before concluding this video. It's been really interesting the different ways that people have been spending their stimulus money. I know someone who recently purchased a puppy for $400 and named his dog Stimmy. No, I'm totally kidding. He didn't name his dogs to me, but I really wish he had. And also, I'll share with you the typical rhetoric around emergency funds. Typically, they say it's great to start with $1,000, and then like once you're able to kind of build it up, you should do like 3 months to like, or 3 months to 6 months. That's sort of like of living expenses, monthly living expenses of things that you absolutely need, right? Just think about that. If you're able to have 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund, for example, if you were to be laid off, or certain things happen that you didn't anticipate, like, and you have that amount of money put away, like I said earlier, it just goes back to this feeling of security, a feeling of being prepared. And it's a great idea. I think that if you can manage to create this fund of money, like, you really should. I think that, your future self will thank you for it. Yeah, that's all I have for this video. It's a short one, but I hope that you took something away from it. I'd love to hear if, this isn't the way that you're planning on using your stimulus money, what sorts of ways that you're thinking about using your stimulus money. Please leave that in the comments below. I would really love to read like how everyone is spending this money, and I will see y'all in the next one.